Thank you. Welcome to Sonic Boom, How Sound Shapes Reality. Hey everyone, I'm Ra, Director of Creative Strategy for MassiveMusic. Over 15 years in the music and sound universe, I've donned several hats and embarked on countless creative adventures. At MassiveMusic, I help legendary brands unleash their audio superpower through a holistic approach to music and sound. And let's be real, my teammates are just as legendary. Speaking of which, over to you, Roger.
Thanks, Ra. That's a fantastic intro. Hi, everyone. My name is Roger Gehrmann. I'm an ad agency creative, brand marketer, and all-round audio nerd. I was a former executive creative director at Pandora, SiriusXM, and SoundCloud, where I launched a sonic consultancy that started my obsession with all things audio. Alongside Ra and the rest of my fam at MassiveMusic, I work with brands and help them harness and amplify the enormous power of sound to move hearts and minds. We're going to go on an amazing topic for you today, filled with really incredible insights. And there's a lot to cover in such little time, so let's get right into it.
Before we do, here's a bite-sized yet profound clip that captures the essence of what's coming your way. Here we go.
What kind of idiot made this mug?
Everything's meant to be broken. I just want you to know. It might seem crazy what I'm about to say.
I'm very easily influenced by music.
It was profound. I'm very easily influenced by music, says Peter. Well, aren't we all? But why do music and sound have these powers over us? You see, the investigation into this question is in its infancy. But it appears that human musicality might just be the biggest twist in the story of our evolution. So let's crank up the volume on a more intriguing question. Are we inherently musical species? Beings of sound, if you will.
Okay, so real talk. This is going to be a little bit different from the other presentations that you've seen today. We're going to do this in 4 fabulous chapters. It's going to be a bit of a quest. We're going to embark on a journey. And we're going to start at the very beginning of literally everything.
Chapter 1, creation. 13.8 billion years ago, everything we know popped out of a teeny tiny speck and went bang. Big bang. We describe the beginning of the universe with a sound. As the newborn universe expanded, the sound continued for a very long time until it faded away. Or did it? In the 1960s, 2 radio astronomers, while fiddling with their antenna at Bell Labs, picked up a mysterious noise. And no matter how they adjusted their antenna, the sound came from every direction of the universe. They were on the brink of discovering something epic. Their antenna had picked up the CMB, Cosmic Microwave Background, the leftover sounds from the Big Bang, an interstellar echo, if you will, of that very explosive moment of creation itself. This mind-blowing discovery flung open the doors to our origins. When we listen carefully, even the quietest sounds have the power to echo loudly, humming the secret tunes of our universe. Speaking of secret, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Vibration. We say it casually all the time. I love her vibe. The vibe of this place is just right. But what if we are unknowingly tapping into something much deeper? Perhaps that's who we all are. Vibrations, constantly resonating and interacting in ways we don't fully comprehend. Enter string theory, engineered, advanced, and studied for decades by leading scientists. It suggests that tiny vibrating strings are the fundamental building blocks of everything, from the smallest to the most colossal. It's like the universe is a grand stage upon which every particle is humming its own secret tune. On a bigger scale, our sun and the planets are also humming their cosmic melody just the same. You see, over 2,500 years ago, Pythagoras proposed a crazy idea. We're not sure what he was... Oh, slides disappeared. Just give us a second. Oh, there we go, we're back. I apologize, but yeah, the monitor's back on. All right. Pythagoras proposed a crazy idea, music of the spheres. A theory that planets' movements created mathematical harmonies. It was a wild theory, but it struck a chord, pun intended, with great minds of the future for centuries. Fast forward to 1600s, Johannes Kepler, renowned German astronomer, extended upon Pythagoras' crazy idea. In his book, Harmonices Mundi, Latin for Harmonies of the World, Kepler's work showed that planetary distances match musical harmonic ratios, turning Pythagoras' abstract theory into measurable science. And this exploration into Pythagoras' idea didn't stop with Kepler. Other brilliant minds took it up a notch too, cementing the idea that our universe is structured by mathematical and musical principles. So the congruency between planetary distances, orbits, and musical intervals, is it just a coincidence? Or the handiwork of a higher power? No idea. But it is believed that this connection explains why we vibe to specific harmonies and musical intervals, making us easily influenced by music and its divine powers. Zooming in on our own planet, Mother Earth sings her own melody, the Schumann resonance, vibrating at an average of 7.83 hertz, just slightly below our hearing range. Although inaudible, this resonance aligns with our brain's alpha and theta waves, associated with deep relaxation and creativity. Fascinating. Now, zooming back out, these are some of the many, many recordings from our solar system. What you're hearing right now is a 2018 NASA recording titled Sounds of the Sun. The sun singing its timeless song, reminding us that our star has its own timeless voice that ripples through the solar system. Now, let's bring this chapter to a close. From the whispers of the Big Bang to the celestial symphonies of our solar system, what is the universe trying to tell us? Consider the possibility that we, the stars, and everything in between are composed of the same vibrations. Perhaps our higher calling is to harmonize with the sound of creation. This might just be the biggest takeaway from a human perspective. Speaking of humans, let's flip the page to our next chapter.
Okay, chapter 2, evolution. So to understand our evolution, we need to immerse ourselves in the original environment, a world rich with sounds that were not only natural, but essential to our survival. The roar of waterfalls, the crash of ocean waves, the distant rumbling of thunder, the song of birds. Each of these sounds were clear markers of safety or threats or opportunities. And for our ancestors, each sound carried meaning, a message from the environment, weaving together the first language of life. And of course, the age-old question. If a tree falls in the forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? Does anyone know the answer to that question? George Berkeley's question invites us to ponder the human experience of sound, adding layers of meaning, connection, and emotion that goes beyond mere vibration. Because that's what sound is. Scientifically speaking, sound is simply waves of pressure through air measured in frequencies and amplitudes. But in its purpose, sound is a bridge. It's a way for us to interpret and connect and interact with the world. This bridge doesn't just help us survive, it shapes our perception, our consciousness, connecting the external world to our internal experience. And it all starts with these wonders, these marvels of evolutionary engineering, these things, our ears. Using these, we decode the signals from our environment. And with our brain, we convert them into meaning. This is known as the study of psychoacoustics. Psychoacoustics bridge the biology and emotion, revealing how our brains interpret sounds, and more importantly, how these interpretations influence our emotions and our behavior. You see, our brains convert these airwaves into neural signals in just microseconds. Sound is actually processed in about 20 to 50 microseconds. That is faster than vision, smell, or touch, all of our other senses, which take a few hundred microseconds to process. That means sound is actually our fastest sense. We hear and our brains respond to sound faster than anything else. Sound also impacts us physically. Research from Oxford shows that certain frequencies influence our heart rate, our breathing, or even our perception of pain. Low rumbling frequencies can trigger the stress response, preparing us for fight or flight, where higher, softer tones can tend to relax us. Sound isn't just something we hear, it's something we feel physically resonating through our bodies that shaped our instincts and interactions for over a millennia. Take a guess. What one of the first things we ever experience in life. It's our mother's heartbeat. It's one because sound is actually one of the first things that develops inside the womb, our first sense. And this early exposure forms a deep primal connection to sound, a connection that extends into every stage of life. Fun fact, studies have actually shown that music that our mothers listen to while we are in utero actually influences our cognitive growth. So if you have a bad sense of rhythm or you don't think you're quite smart enough, maybe your mom didn't listen to the right music. You can blame her. Once we're born in the world, sound quickly becomes an essential tool for survival. The Doppler effect lets us detect the movement of the tiniest sound or air around us, and the Haas effect allows us to sense direction. Our ancestors honed the ability to use sound to pinpoint and navigate and find danger and safety around us, skills that have sharpened our survival instincts and contributed to our success as a species. In fact, the reason we enjoy music and sound in stereo is closely linked to our brain's ability to perceive and interpret this directional hearing. You know how uncomfortable you feel when a song is sung off key, or if someone plays a wrong chord on the piano? It's like horrible, right? It's like fingernails down a chalkboard. It's horrible. You don't need to be a musician to know when something is off. This is because of our acute ability to detect slight variations in pitch. In fact, studies have shown humans can discern differences in frequencies far more accurately than differences in color or visual patterns. This sensitivity enabled early humans to interpret subtle environmental changes, giving us a better awareness of our surroundings. Essentially, we can hear danger and opportunities before we see them. And this is why we react to sound 17% faster than visual cues. We hear in 360 degrees in 3 dimensions. We process it faster. We respond to it unconsciously. Hearing has essentially become a superpower for us. We've evolved to rely on it as our primary sense. So it makes sense that it has the ability to move our hearts and minds. Sound expands our awareness, making it key to how we survived as a species to this day. But hearing isn't just a utility, it's also foundational to our language and culture. And while this all sounds really intuitive, right, it wasn't until 2001 when a geneticist actually discovered the FOXP2 gene in humans, which actually proved that we have a genetic propensity towards melodies and rhythm. The FOXP2 gene was also found in other animals, like songbirds and whales. But it's believed that this evolutionary connection to music is why our bodies produce serotonin, the feel-good hormone. It's why we feel good when we listen to or play music. It's like nature is guiding us towards song, kind of like the Pied Piper. And speaking of pipers, this flute from the Paleolithic era was unearthed in a cave in Slovenia and is one of the earliest instruments ever discovered. It reveals a culture of sound that predates even language. It dates back to about 60,000 years ago and is crafted by the thigh bone of a young cave bear. Its design is extraordinary. The flute has 4 finger holes. It's meticulously placed to produce specific pitches, suggesting that it was created intentionally for music. And that's not just speculation. In 2015, musicologist Bob Fink demonstrated that these notes actually align to our modern diatonic scale. These discoveries remind us that sound was more than just survival. It was a canvas for imagination, and it was a way for us to express our emotions beyond words. Music speaks where words fail, said the 19th century Danish author Hans Christian Andersen. Well, in fact, it appears that we created music before we even created words. Our evolution shows that sound wasn't just a passive force, it actively shaped our brains, our bodies, our cultures. Now, as we move from the natural world to human-made civilizations, let's explore how sound influenced the very foundation of our societies, from ancient rituals to modern communication. Welcome to our next chapter.
Thanks, Roger. Chapter 3, Civilization. As human societies evolved, sound became more than survival. It became civilization. Early communities gathered around fires, under stars, united by the rhythms of oral traditions and rituals. Chants, drum beats, and songs weren't just for survival. They brought people together, transforming mere existence into culture. And as culture grew, so did the rituals that revolved around sound. Across societies, sound marked life's most important moments: births, victories, and even death. Sound wasn't just practical. It connected the mundane with the mystical. Music in ancient Egypt, for instance, was used in healing rituals within resonant chambers of pyramids. So you can just imagine being in that pyramid with incantations echoing across the chambers to promote well-being. Even in times of war, sound played a crucial role. From African drums to Scottish bagpipes, music motivated troops and intimidated enemies, making sound a powerful psychological force in battle. Beyond rituals, sound paved the way for one of the humanity's greatest achievements: language. You see, language started with sound. Before we could write, we spoke, we sang, we chanted to pass down knowledge. The griots of West Africa preserved centuries of history through songs. Or take Australian Aboriginals, for example. They have a remarkable tradition of using songs as a way to navigate their lands, as maps, if you will. Even the oldest written music, the Hurrian hymn number 6, reveals how sound became a repository for memory. In fact, Greek tales like Iliad were passed down orally through rhythmic recitation long before they were written. But as civilizations grew, we didn't just tell stories. We engineered spaces that amplified the power of the human voice. From Egyptian temples to Greek amphitheaters, civilizations understood how to craft spaces that amplified sound. Designed to be acoustically perfect, these structures ensured that a single voice could command the attention of thousands. Political decrees, religious sermons, and public gatherings all relied on the power of voice traveling through the air, uniting people before written words could. And just as sound unified politics and law, it also connected us to the spiritual world. Sound has always been a path to the divine. In India, the concept of Nada Brahma, the idea that universe is sound, highlights the belief that all creation resonates with divine energy. This is deeply linked to the word yoga, that literally translates to union, union of the soul with the divine source. Similarly, Chinese cosmology reflects harmony between heaven and earth through music. Or let's take Al-Farabi, one of the Persian scholars, who explored how music connects mathematical harmonies with the cosmos. Across the very land we stand on right now, the First Nations people have used music as a deeply spiritual practice and means of cultural preservation. Their traditional music is not just an art form, but a profound way to connect with nature, ancestors, and the divine. Just as unique as each civilization's spiritual soundscape was, music also became inseparable from cultural context and cultural identity. Let me expand on this notion with a personal anecdote with you. I'm born and raised in Mumbai, India. As a kid, I vividly remember this hot summer day. I was in grade 1, walked into my music class, and our teacher introduced a new song to us. Rain, rain, go away, come again another day. At first, I enjoyed the melody, but then the words left me perplexed and petrified. You're wondering, that's a perfectly normal song. What's wrong? I'll tell you what's wrong. Growing up in India, we celebrated rain, not wished it away. Since thousands of years, the monsoon season in India is celebrated as a season of love. There are timeless folk songs and ragas dedicated to rain. And of course, the powerful Hindu god Indra, the powerful Hindu god of rain, Indra. So you can imagine my confusion when our teacher wanted the rain to leave. It's like asking him to get lost. Just in case he's for real, I'm not taking any chances. In my case, I understood the words, making music unrelatable. On the flip side, there's a fascinating study that involves the Mafa tribe from Cameroon. It showcased that despite them have never having heard Western music before, they could identify emotions like happiness, sadness, and fear in unfamiliar melodies. This highlights the universality of music, its ability to transcend culture and connect with human emotions. With the rise of cities and global trade, sound adapted, reflecting the complexities of our society. But as we approach the modern era, sound is no longer bound to rituals or geography. It's become immortal, recorded, streamed, amplified, to reach ears far beyond where it began. A new sonic reality of our modern world shapes us and is upon us.
So here it comes, everyone, the last chapter. I hope you're all still with me. This chapter is called Modernization. So in the grand journey from ancient survival instincts to the earliest civilizations, we've learned so much about sound, how it's not only fundamental to our existence, but central to our evolution as a species. Music and sound wasn't accidental byproducts of our environment. They were intentional, even essential to shaping our minds, our cultures, and eventually the very fabric of our modern lives. As modern humans, we may not sit around fires with primitive flutes anymore. I mean, some of us might, but not all of us. But our ties to music as a means of expression, identity, and community are still just as strong. Our festivals, our rituals, our personal routines still echo the sounds of our ancestors. like the rhythmic heartbeat drums of Native American cultures or the echoes of traditional chimes across East Asia. Today, sound is woven into every part of our lives. It's in our alarms, it's in our commutes, it's in our workspaces, it's in our leisure. From the bustle of cities to the curated playlists that accompany us, sound is a force that guides us, guides our energy, our focus, and even our moods. We even now tailor the sound of our lives, whether it's the lo-fi beats to study to, the bangers to work out to, or the ambient soundscapes of the Calm app. We all know intuitively that sound can immediately prime our minds and bodies for specific moods and specific actions. So let's talk brand. We know for a fact that sound with intent can create valuable emotional resonance with consumers. In fact, our research shows that music accounts for 1/3 of a consumer's brand preference. And talking sonic identity, the classic Intel Inside, dum 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 dum, or the McDonald's classic I'm Loving It jingle, ba-da-ba-ba-ba. These are sounds that we can't help but remember, but they create long-lasting associations in our culture. A recent study has actually shown that brands with a distinct sonic identity are 96% more likely to be remembered by consumers. 96%. I'm going to pause so you can all take a photo of this slide. Yes, I can see the cameras. Excellent. I got another fact for you. Just by using a sonic logo, just the simple use of it can actually increase 20% in brand trust. It must be said though, having a sonic logo doesn't just mean playing a sound. You need to have a sonic logo that is congruous. It needs to be intentional and strategically crafted. Sound's impact isn't just limited to traditional media. On social platforms like TikTok, sound isn't an accessory, it's a core part of the experience. Viral audio snippets shape entire online trends, affecting how we perceive and engage with the world. Influencers and brands use popular songs or even unique sounds to create familiarity and draw engagement. Audio-centric content builds community, shaping not just what we consume, but also what we believe and what we desire. Sound amplifies voices and influences cultural moments, whether it's the Beatles driving the anti-war movement in the 60s or Nirvana's rejection of mainstream commercialism in the 90s, maybe questionable, Kendrick Lamar's Pulitzer Prize award-winning social commentary on systemic racism. We all understand how music icons drive our culture. Or even this year, when Taylor Swift and Billie Eilish voiced support for Kamala Harris, the societal effect was epic. Hopefully, epic enough. These artists have a massive influence, and because music touches our emotions at a level words often cannot. And the right brands know how to harness this kind of influence. Partnerships between brands and artists, like Doja Cat's collaboration with Taco Bell, not only impact public perception, but also bring recognitions to brands in ways that traditional advertising cannot. This campaign was actually so effective it won the Clio Music Award in 2024, showing how artist collaborations can create cultural touchpoints. Music really is a shortcut to how we feel to our very core. And this probably doesn't need to be said, but our digital world is continuing to be increasingly audio-driven. We live in a truly headphones-on world. When we walk around, everyone has headphones on, right? What do you think the world's most sold electronic device is? It's not a phone, it's not a tablet, it is the humble Bluetooth headphones. Streaming services and podcasts have boomed. In the current research from Edison actually shows that Americans aged 18 to 54 spend 4.5 hours a day with audio. 4.5 hours. That's more than TV, that is more than social media, and more than streaming. The ROI for audio advertising is rising steadily and underscoring audio's unique ability to create immersive, long-lasting connections with audiences. So despite all of this, despite everything we've just told you, many brands still lack audio identities. A recent report found that less than 20% of Fortune 500 companies have dedicated sonic branding assets. What I mean by that is like specific custom sound logos, anthems, or jingles. And this isn't just a missing opportunity, this is an enormous gap in their ability to connect with consumers at a deeper, more intuitive, more emotional level. A holistic approach to sound and music has the power to elevate a brand from recognizable to memorable, and yes, even to lovable. But as we immerse ourselves in the modern soundscapes, our sonic environment has rapidly changed. It's changed dramatically to those beautiful soundscapes of our ancestors, for better or for worse. The constant hum of traffic, our incessant buzz of notifications, these sounds wear on our senses, leading to sonic fatigue. This brings a new challenge, balancing technology-enhanced soundscapes with spaces of calm, quiet, and mindfulness. So you see, sound is also a profound healing tool. Music therapy is now an established field, and with studies showing that music can actually reduce pain, lower anxiety, and accelerate recovery. Techniques in vibroacoustics and sound healing actually use frequencies that align with our body's rhythms, providing relief and healing. So let's look at a remarkable situation where music actually played a crucial role in a life or death moment.
Give me 20 cc's of Music Factory. Clear.
Everybody dance now!
Again. Clear.
Everybody dance now!
Clear.
Everybody dance now!
Sometimes the right tune is the best prescription. All right, so as we bring this whole talk to a close, I know that was a lot that we covered, and it's okay if you didn't catch all of it. But we're going to summarize it for you in 4 really easy to remember factoids to take home with you.
First, creation. In the beginning, it wasn't just light, it was also sound that shaped us and our reality. Vibrations formed everything, and great minds believed the cosmos itself played a harmonious melody, uniting us with all creation through music and math.
Second, evolution. We as humans evolved through the use of sound. We survived as a species because of it. We became creatures that are specifically tuned for sound, and conscious or not, we are moved physically, mentally, and emotionally by sound.
Third, civilization. Across cultures, sound became the pulse of human expression, a bridge between our emotions, our communities, and the divine. It echoed in every ritual, every story, every belief, forming the bedrock of our civilizations and spiritual practices.
And finally, modernization. Through science, we truly understand how sound shapes how we feel, how we connect, and how we move through this modern world. So, this is all interconnected. All 4 of these chapters all connect together in this whole cosmos. Make sense? This all makes sense, right? Okay, so now that you understand all of this, I ask you, why in the world of brand and marketing, why is it that sound is still too undervalued and too underutilized? Many of you are brand owners, brand creators, and brand guardians. If I ask you, you could probably tell me the exact font and exact color that is used in your logos. But if I asked you, what is the sound of your brand, what would you tell me? What is the sound of your product? Who chooses your music for advertising? How does sound influence your brand experience across all of these touch points? Who casts the voice? Who should it resonate with? Where do you start? You should start with a sonic strategy.
There you have it. Not just in the brands we build, but the lives we live. Let's take a moment to recognize the power of sound. It's been the comfort when you needed peace, but also the force that pushed you to fight when you had nothing left. It's the soft hum that lulled you to sleep, and also the loud roar that stirred you awake to fight for change. Sound moves through every part of us, our emotions, our culture, our stories, our deepest connections. It's the soundtrack of our memories, the rhythm of our lives. This is how sound shapes reality. Thank you all for being such an amazing audience today. Your vibe made this experience truly special. Heartfelt thanks to Brian Sherman, our head of creative production, for DJing our soundscape, and to our leaders, Justine Ryan and Brian Biniak, for the support. Go say hi to our lovely MassiveMusic people. And shout out to our team around the globe for continuously inspiring us.
And if you liked what you heard today, we're actually continuing this by going into an interactive experience. We're going hands-on with sound in our inner sanctum right after this. So once you finish, go straight upstairs to the Rob
upstairs.
Ritchie room.
Rob Ritchie room,
Go there.
that's right.
And I'm sure you can all get in. Just go hang out the front.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
That's good.
Thank you.
You guys are great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How about these guys? How good was that? I feel like I would have
Take a seat.
watched that as a documentary on Amazon Prime or something. It was so good. Have a seat. Have a seat.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Let me switch the glasses.
All right, no, it's all good. Let's have a chat. It's funny. I was on my way to. I talked yesterday, and I'm walking down Banff Avenue, and I had my earbuds in, and I'm just bopping. And my wife actually, she was driving down Banff Avenue and saw me walking in the sidewalk. She's like, "What are you listening to?" I'm like, kicking out rock star kicks, right? Styx. It was "Come Sail Away" by Styx. When that drops, but there's something about that, isn't there? We all know that what you're talking about is true.
Yes.
We all know that we have pump-ups. I'm going to ask you what yours are at the end of this. You're going to tell me what your pump-up music is before you get on stage. But we all know what you're talking about is true. It feels so intuitive. Why is that number, that less than 20% number, happening? In a world where people are trying to create these emotional experiences. People who know me know I talk about emotions a lot. These emotional experiences with brands, and we want to create connection. Why are we missing the sound piece?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is actually to do with the history of advertising and how the agency model works. Like all the greatest creative agencies in the world still do amazing work, but they were all originally set up to do television. They are still largely television shops, and audio has always been kind of regarded down the bottom of the list of things to do. So we often, when we talk to our clients, we often tell them that this is something that they need to direct, they need to own. It should be coming from the brand level, from the top. They should be telling their agencies that they want to build out a sonic ecosystem and not just let some junior creative in an agency decide what sound they're going to use in an ad.
Interesting. And so it starts on the brand side. It wouldn't start with an agency saying, hey, we're going to lean into sound ourselves. You think it starts with the brand. Why is that?
It's really important that we don't just look at a good sounding sound. It's important to dive deep into the brand, discuss and understand at a very deeper level with all the key stakeholders on the brand side and on the agency side. Understanding what the core values are, what's their tone of voice, how they present themselves, how they show up across touch points, not just on campaigns, right? And also taking a look at the competitive landscape. See, all of these exercises and processes that I'm talking about are an integral part of visual branding. So in that sense, it's not just about saying, hey, what's a nice, catchy, trendy sound? It's about making sure that is it distinct? Is it ownable? Is it enduring? Is it aligned? Because we're not chasing a trend. We are making sure that just as the visual brand guide and all of the other key attributes of a brand must endure, or perhaps evolve over a long period of time, we want to treat sound in the same fashion.
Do you find on whether the brand side or the marketing side, the business, do we have the tools to have that conversation? Like, I think a lot of people are comfortable saying, I know what my brand should look like. Mm-hmm. I know what, the tone of my messaging when I write, the copy. Do people know how to be like, that sound feels like the right sound for my brand because?
Yeah, it's funny.
Like,
I think
it feels subjective.
Yeah.
Like, how do you do people have the tools to work through the things you're describing?
The literal thing that they're going to do in the inner sanctum is exactly that. What we do is an audio mood board. It's what we do with clients, often with their agencies or sometimes directly with the clients without their agencies. We sit down and we go through and try and figure out what that sound is, because it is subjective and it can't just be the personal preference of the CMO. It needs to resonate with the people that they're going after. The CMO doesn't listen to the same music that all of their consumers listen to. So it is something that you need to work with experts that are in their fields, can help you, guide you towards that. And yeah, I think a lot of the times, some of the language and some of the tools aren't quite there, but we have it. We have All of this language is built in. We talk about sound all the time in our everyday language. We just don't apply it to marketing as often as we should. So if you work with some audio experts, hopefully us, you'll be able to like guide you towards that and have it, it should end up being part of the brand guidelines. Some of the best brands in the world do have a section in their brand guidelines around sound. It talks about what kind of voice that they have. It talks about what kind of music they should be using and how it should be used. And like having to build that out as part of the whole ecosystem of the brand is really key. Once you're at that level, then all the marketers of the brand understand it and can use that language and can speak it, and they'll be able to pass that down through to their agencies and their production companies to make sure that is kept and is consistent.
I'll add to what Roger
Yeah,
mentioned,
please
and with a simple analogy. Let's just say the CMO of a company, his favorite colors are, or her favorite colors are, or their favorite colors are orange and purple. Let's say the brand is Happy Holidays. Now, imagine Happy Holidays in orange and purple, colors traditionally associated with Halloween, right? So something feels off about that, right? It's a simple analogy. So the personal preferences of senior stakeholders must not influence and inform what the sound of a brand should be. Just because the favorite colors as such doesn't mean maybe that it's going to align with what the intended brand and the messaging and the positioning is. So again, going back to the previous question and adding to what Roger mentioned, yes, we always start with a brand, and it's a very in-depth, thorough process of understanding before we even start putting pen to paper. It's not like, hey, let's get into the studio and let's make something cool.
You mentioned something actually earlier, and either of you can answer, but I was curious because when I used to work at Canadian Tire, we'd produce these minute-long anthem video. That was kind of the thing in the mid-2000s,
Yep.
anthem videos. And we picked these really epic music scores that, it's kind of a two-part question. A, they cost us a lot of money to license these well-known songs. So how do you get around the fact that people don't want to pay those kind of licensing fees and they want to hold on to it and they want their videos to endure? And then B, when you started taking that minute-long piece and applying it to, and I know you said don't do it for a campaign purpose, but applying it to different parts of the story you're trying to tell, it just didn't translate as well. Like it didn't translate as well to like the 10-second clip on social, or it didn't translate as well to what you're doing in different channels. So how do you get around like this concern that we want this thing to endure? So a licensing question, and then the multi-channel version of sound, like an app. Like, are we going right down to like the dinging sound it makes, like when you make a purchase? Like, how deep does this go, and how consistent are we actually trying to be in terms of the sound itself, or is it just the emotion it evokes? So two questions. Go ahead.
I'll answer the first part. So the licensing one is an interesting one. Music licensing is incredibly complicated, and there's reasons why you get a music licensing expert to help you navigate those things. Music licensing is great when you want to leverage existing songs that mean something to people already. And they're great for campaigns. They're not great for brand assets, especially if you're planning to use it beyond a certain period. There's all kinds of horror stories of brands who have been continuously licensing for a song for a long time and paying millions for a song, and sometimes end up getting sued because they forgot when the license ended and then they used it anyway, and there's a ton of them out there. People getting sued all the time. So licensing is tricky. It shouldn't be the core part of your sonic strategy. You need to do something that's ownable, whether it's a custom composition, whether it's your own anthem, whether it's a DNA track that's going to then feed down into lots of different executions. There needs to be something that the brand can actually own. And that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be completely original track. You can get an existing track that means something to people, have it re-recorded by a new artist. You see this sometimes in like movie trailers. Like the recent trend is like taking songs that we all like from the 80s and like redoing it in like a dark and gritty version for the modern trailers. One of the reasons they do that is because it's way cheaper, and then you can actually try and own that new version. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get around the licensing thing, but I do recommend if you're going to do something from a brand perspective, it needs to be ownable, just like a logo. Imagine having to like license a logo all the time for all of existence.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll mention as an example to what Roger mentioned, and then I'll answer the second question. Since you mentioned Canadian Tire, Home Depot, a competitor, Home Depot's brand anthem and theme, they've been using it for years. In social, on broadcast, in a multi-platform way. And proof is in the pudding when you see the engagement and the strong brand salience and association just on the heels of the DNA track itself. Coming to your second question about how deep does this go? That's what we mean when we say a holistic approach to music and sound. It's a very high-level statement, but that in a sense answers your question, which is, traditionally speaking, when everyone sort of who is on the visual side of things is thinking about music and sound, they're referring to, hey, we want this piece of music to amplify and elevate at a campaign level. We're talking brand level. And yes, campaign-specific music is important, but we are looking at a much, through a bird's eye view, if you will. So taking the understanding of where the brand values are, translating all of those ideas into overarching sonic directions, and then taking the streams to, okay, this is how it applies, and this texture, this timbre, or this chord progression, or this melody, there's so many layers. And again, going to our inner sanctum, that's what we talk about, demystifying all of these layers, because each one of them means something. So if there is a sonic logo of a brand, is there a component in there that can be a nod to, let's say, when you buy something, when something goes in your cart, when you favorite something on an app, all the different triggers and action points on your app, they all speak the same language and are cohesive. And even if there is variation, just as every brand has a visual brand guide, we also make sure that there is an audio brand guide, because there has to be some guardrails. Otherwise, how much is too broad and how narrow is too narrow? It's about striking that balance.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It sounds like we should all go to the inner sanctum is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, everyone.
So that's good.
Robert,
we are at time. Very quickly, 5 seconds. Your pre-presentation pump you up song is?
I listened to Journey, actually.
Journey! It's all the Family Guy references. I think that's where I saw that. And you have one?
Heavy is the Crown, Linkin Park.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, nice. That's awesome. Heavy. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a happy rest of the afternoon.
Thanks so much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Roger, Raj, Nick. Thank you very much. We have some incredible conversations happening across the 3 stages. I want to let you know what's happening here on WestJet. First, the next wave of women's sports. I saw them during the lunch hour break. This is something you don't want to miss. Over at the Plesco Theatre, the conversation about breaking free from female guilt. This has particularly piqued my interest, something worth checking out. And of course, Labeled Creators Studio stage is Range Rover. So we have 3 conversations that are kicking off at 4 p.m. In the meantime, we do have some barcodes up. If you are looking to secure your tickets for 2025, those are available while you're here at the gathering. That pricing will change afterwards on Saturday. I hope you're making new connections. I'm doing my very best to come around and say hello to anyone. My name is Alex Hunt. I would love to meet you. Please be sure to say hi, grab yourself a coffee, and I will see you at 4 o'clock.